The Ayaka Islands are a group of islands inhabited by humans and strange monsters, and the two sides live together in complete peace. This state of harmony lasted for decades until the disaster struck. One day, an overwhelming rage took hold of one of the monsters, the fire dragon. For no clear reason, this dragon began destroying everything around it, leaving nothing untouched. No one was able to stop it or defeat it. That was when a man named Yanagi appeared, the strongest human of that era. He decided to face the dragon by himself and asked all the island's inhabitants to leave, to abandon the island and take his young son, Yukito. Everyone boarded the ship and left Yanagi alone to face the dragon. Sadly, that was the last thing Yanagi ever did in his life, as he lost his life in that battle. As for his close friend, he sent Yukito far away to study, completely away from the Ayaka Islands, without anyone understanding the real reason behind that decision. 11 years later, we see our hero Yukito grown into a young man. Unfortunately, he lives completely alone, without any friends. No one likes him, and the reason is that when he was a child, whenever he was bullied or harmed by others, an enormous power would erupt around him and injure anyone who got close. This happened more than once, so he decided not to befriend anyone and to live in isolation. That is how Yukito grew up, completely alone. So what do you think, my friend? Will events pass by normally, or will a great calamity turn the story upside down? Well then, follow me. One day, Yukito receives a letter from someone named Ino, telling him, "I am your father's friend. For a certain reason, I sent you far away from your homeland, the Ayaka Islands. But after you graduate from middle school, I will send someone to bring you back home so you can live there and continue your education in your birthplace." Yukito reads the letter, but he remembers nothing about his past and does not know who Ino is, since he was very young when he left the island. In any case, he decides to let things take their course. A few days pass, and the day of his middle school graduation arrives. He attends the ceremony, and after it ends, he steps outside to leave. Suddenly, a young man with green hair appears in front of him and tells him that he is the one who will take him back to his homeland. The young man escorts him immediately, and they board one of the ships heading to the Ayaka Islands. Along the way, the young man introduces himself. His name is Jin. Yukito, meanwhile, sits in a state of complete shock. Shortly after, they arrive at the island and are greeted by two people. The first is Ino, the sender of the letter, and the second is a girl named Muki, the owner of the house where Yukito used to live in the past. Ino and Muki welcome Jin and Yukito and take them to their new home. There, Ino tells Yukito that the man in the photograph is his father, whom everyone used to call Master Yanagi, because he was indeed a teacher who trained people to use their magical powers. He had 3 students. The first was Jin, and the other 2 were his older brothers. Yukito anxiously asks about his mother, and why they brought him back to the island after all these years, and why they sent him away in the first place. Sadness appears on Ino's face as he tells him the truth. "Yanagi brought you here one day, and no one knew who your mother was or where she was. He himself was the one who asked us to send you away from the island, and that was his final wish. He instructed us to place you somewhere far away until you grew up and finished middle school, then bring you back to the island again." When Yukito hears this, he feels that they know everything about him, so he asks them about the magical energy. Jin and Ino tell him that he possesses an enormous power beyond description, but it is sealed, and it cannot be released until he first learns how to control it. Muki interrupts them and tells Yukito that he should go upstairs and get some rest. He agrees and heads to his room, but finds Jin behind him, asking him to tell him about his past. Yukito explains that his past is ordinary, and that the only unusual thing was that he had great power as a child, which harmed his classmates, so he distanced himself from people. He expects Jin to listen carefully, but when he turns around, he finds Jin busy on his phone, as if he does not care. Yukito gets annoyed by this behavior, leaves the room, and tells Muki that he is going out for a short walk and will return soon. He goes out and walks among the beautiful plants, when suddenly a white creature appears. Yukito does not pay much attention, because Jin had told him earlier that these monsters are harmless. However, this creature is different. as a red color appears on it, as if it is poisoned. Suddenly, it dives into the water, and in an instant transforms into a terrifying form. This is the Ara Meta creature, different from the peaceful blue Meta, as the Ara Meta is poisonous and extremely dangerous. The monster tries to attack Yukito, but at the last moment, Jin arrives and saves him. He activates his magical energy, leaps into the air, and strikes the monster with a powerful fire attack, but it does not defeat it. The monster rises again, and at that moment Jin grabs Yukito and throws him into the monster's body. This action enrages Yukito, his emotions explode, and a small portion of his sealed power is released, causing the monster to explode and vanish completely. Yukito opens his eyes to find that everything is over. Jin tells him that he threw him into the monster to test his ability to control his power, but he failed. Therefore, he will begin training him during the coming period to teach him how to control his power, after which it can be fully released. However, the matter requires deep consideration because his power is so immense that it could destroy the islands or even the entire world. Yukito agrees, and the two return home, ending the day like that. The next day, our hero Yukito begins his training. When he tries to perform his first spell, he fails. Jin decides that theoretical training alone is not enough, and that he must train Yukito practically by making him fight monsters face to face, as that will develop him better. Indeed, they head to the mission office to take on a task. There, they meet two people who we later learn are also trainees, but under the guidance of Jin's older brother. In any case, Jin takes one of the missions from them, despite their initial refusal. Claiming he was late, he tells them that the mission is for training Yukito, the son of Master Yanagi. The two are shocked by this and confirm it when they see Yukito with their own eyes, then quickly rush to inform their teacher. Jin and Yukito set out to carry out the mission. When they reach the river, the monster suddenly appears before them. Jin is terrified by its enormous size and runs away at full speed. Yukito feels sorry for him and runs after him while the monster chases them. Suddenly, the monster collides with them, and they both fall into the river. An old man saves them using his fishing rod. The two hurry to dry their clothes, and Yukito gets angry at Jin and asks him about the reason for his behavior. Jin dodges the question and tells him that he only retreated to give him a chance to train freely. Yukito calms down and tells him not to do that again. After that, they return together to the monster's location and begin to devise a plan. Jin tells Yukito that he will make him bait for the monster. Yukito becomes extremely angry and objects, saying that he is still a student learning the basics. While they are talking, the monster hears them and approaches, then attacks them with powerful strikes. As usual, Jin runs away quickly, but this time the monster chases him and leaves Yukito alone. Yukito immediately activates a water spell and attacks the monster. Jin realizes his mistake, activates his own magical energy, and attacks the monster, tearing it apart. However, the monster reforms and surrounds Jin, nearly killing him, until another person arrives at the scene. Haru, Jin's older brother. Haru activates his magical energy and delivers an explosive strike that completely destroys the monster. Yukito is amazed by Haru's power and thanks him. Haru tells him that he probably does not remember him, but he is Jin's older brother and was one of his father Yanagi's trainees. Yukito expresses his happiness at meeting him and feels astonished by the number of people he has forgotten from his past. At the same time, Haru punishes Jin for his recklessness and assigns him to clean the river. Then Haru and Yukito return home to rest, and the day ends like that. The next day, Jin wakes up feeling intense pain all over his body because of what happened the day before. He decides to take Yukito on a leisure trip to walk around the markets on the other side of the island. They board the train heading there, and Yukito is amazed by the sight of the train as it moves across the water. They walk around together, but Jin does not have a peaceful day, as he gets into arguments with almost everyone he meets. Yukito ends up leaving him behind and walking on his own. While wandering, he sees a clown entertaining a group of children. Suddenly, without any warning, the clown's ball transforms into a monster that tries to attack them. Yukito intervenes at the last moment and saves them. The monster then tries to attack him. Yukito attempts to activate his spell, but he becomes nervous and it fails. He thinks his end is near, Suddenly, a person appears and attacks the monster with a rapid and powerful barrage of gunfire, finishing it off with a final blow. The man introduces himself as Ibuki and asks Yukito if he is indeed Yukito. He then tells him that he is the third brother of Jin and Haru, and the final disciple of Master Yanagi. He takes Yukito to a restaurant, where they find Jin sitting there, looking completely relaxed. Yukito asks Ibuki about the type of weapon he uses and how he managed to defeat an Arameta monster with what looks like an ordinary gun. Ibuki explains that his weapon is not ordinary, its bullets are infused with magical energy, allowing him to kill monsters easily. He then clarifies that he does not follow Jin's style, Haru's style, or even Master Yanagi's. They purify Arameta monsters from the poison inside them, while he eliminates them completely, leaving no trace behind. Yukito is disturbed by his words and asks him why he kills them. Ibuki replies that merely purifying them allows them to return and attack people again, so killing them is the fastest and safest solution to protect humans. During their conversation, a girl arrives and informs them that the main body of the monster has appeared. Ibuki explains to Yukito that the previous monster was only a small fragment of a gigantic creature. True Arameta monsters possess 2 eyes through which they can be killed, which the earlier monster did not have. Now, the real monster has finally appeared. Ibuki immediately heads toward the monster's location to eliminate it, while Jin and Yukito turn back toward home. Yukito asks Jin for his opinion on Ibuki's method. Jin answers that everyone has their own approach, and that Ibuki's method is the fastest way to save people, especially with the recent increase in tourists. He also explains that there are major conflicts between Ibuki and Haru because of this issue, and that it is better not to get involved between them. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently, and they realize the cause is the monster. They rush quickly toward its location. Without hesitation, Yukito enters the monster's territory and attacks it, but his attack has little effect. Jin pulls him back. At that moment, soldiers begin firing a heavy barrage of bullets to distract the monster, and it becomes clear that they are Ibuki's subordinates. Ibuki finally arrives and begins activating a strange power. Jin realizes what is happening and shouts for him to stop, but Ibuki does not respond. A black light engulfs the area, Ibuki's form changes, and a demonic arm appears. The monster tries to attack him but cannot even touch him. Ibuki grabs its head and tears it off in a single instant. Yukito witnesses the scene, and feelings of fear, anxiety, and shock mix within him. Jin tells him that Ibuki used forbidden magic prohibited for humans, which is based on absorbing the power of Arameta monsters and using it against them. He adds that this type of magic is extremely savage and disrupts the balance of energy. After witnessing what happened, Yukito and Jin decide to return to the island for now to inform Haru of everything that occurred. They leave the area and head to Haru's house. His 2 students welcome them warmly and begin showing them around the place. While walking, they suddenly slip on the ground, and Jin slips with them as well, getting their clothes covered in mud. The 3 decide to go bathe in the hot springs. After that, Yukito goes to Haru, sits with him, and begins telling him everything that happened with Ibuki. Haru responds, saying that to understand what is happening around him, they must start by talking about magical energy. This energy exists everywhere, but it is heavily concentrated in the Ayaka Islands, especially underground. Magic users draw their power from the energy hidden beneath the earth. He then adds, to understand this more deeply, close your eyes and try to feel the energy. Yukito does so and indeed senses an enormous power. Haru quickly wakes him and tells him that humans must not delve too deeply into magical energy, or they will be harmed, and it could even lead to death. Yukito agrees. Haru continues, explaining that what Ibuki is doing is a grave mistake, because forbidden magic destroys the human body and eventually drives its user into madness. Yukito understands this well, thanks Haru, and leaves. As he steps outside, he meets Haru's 2 students, who ask him to train with them for a while. He agrees without hesitation. The 3 head to the garden, where the 2 students frankly tell him that they see him as a kind person and want to be friends with him. Yukito is overjoyed, as he has had no friends since childhood and lived completely alone. They then suggest that he leave Jin and begin training with them under Master Haru's supervision. Yukito does not give them a definite answer, so they take him to the training ground to practice a bit and measure his strength. The first student, named Chad, plants a seed in the ground and activates his energy toward it, causing it to instantly grow into a plant. Then it is the second student Ammon's turn, and he also successfully performs the same spell. When it is Yukito's turn, he activates the same spell.